live in those areas share. But in terms of something of a more scalable, like is he going to look for measurements or whatnot? No, he didn't say anything like that. If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that seems like something that would be useful, is to try and do some actual rigorous measurement of the problem and try and find out what the scale is, and that might help focus some of the solutions.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, Rachel.
Thanks. Just to give you a scale of measurement, I think someone at the last meeting brought up a bag full of nearly 40 needles, and it took him less than 1 hour to pick them up by himself. Someone hit that right away, but anyway, it was 40 needles an hour for one person.
Yes, I think there are certain neighbors that are definitely selling it more than others. Yes.
Was there any discussion about expanding county-run needle exchanges?
So the county was there, as were other city and county officials. They were there simply for taking notes. They did not commit to any action items. The point was for Robert to hear all of the information and for all of those officials to hear it, and then all of those city and county officials were going to convene behind closed doors and then come back to us, the community. Any other questions on that topic? Because I know the last meeting was there was a lot. And, social media only gives you one side.
I think what worried me more actually than the needles was the fact that they also deal with meth and other drugs like that.
Yes.
And so, since I have to admit, I'm not knowledgeable because I'm not interested in drugs, but I was listening to what they're doing in Canada because it's a big issue in some places. And one of the things that worries me right now is the stuff about meth. And this doctor saying how he destroys the brain.
Yes.
And you don't know how people are going to react and you can't predict. And to me, that's even scarier than the needles because I don't know how many people take public transportation.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's kind of all wrapped in there. There was one neighbor who attended and did share. Her perspective was really more from the effects that the drugs have on people and how that will impact their response or behavior towards another person. And so she addressed that as her concern. So not so much, so like what you said, she's not so concerned about the needles. Oh.
We got 5 more minutes.
Oh. Damn. Sorry. Yes. Yes.
Hi, thank you. How are people invited to that community conversation? Because I know several residents that had no idea there was going to be a meeting.
Yep. So I was invited because Robert had asked if that would be something we would be interested in, and I told him yes, I would. So I can only speak on how St. John's Neighborhood Association was invited. Okay, so I am tardy. Figures. Okay, last thing, I'm gonna move on. Vice Chair, John Lee, he's absent. The cleanup committee has been transitioned over to Lisa DeGlee, and I will be giving an update for you in a moment, as she is absent as well. Bernadine, our treasurer, is absent. Where are those two? I don't know. But we did pass the budget last month, so thank you very much. I'm going to transition it over to Caroline for outreach.
Yeah, really quick, I just have one update. So our outreach efforts last month surrounded our first, we're calling them office hours, even though they're much less formal than that. We decided that while these meetings are great and emails are great, that they're not really conducive to us having kind of more meaningful conversations, to have a brainstorm, to get to know each other as neighbors. So we did a little pilot project last month, and it was Thursday night. We did 2 hours from 7 to 9 p.m. at Stormbreaker. There were 5 board members that came, and it was pretty good traffic. We had probably 8 or 9 neighbors come and talk for the whole duration. I spent most of my evening speaking with a Peapod volunteer. We have a really great idea exchange, open conversation. It's great to get to know each other on a non-public level. And we've decided it's a really successful way where we can just be there as your board to come and talk like people and try to find some common ground and hopefully make some progress together. So because of that success, it is something we're going to continue to do. Instead of committing to the same night every month, we're going to be a little more varied than that because everyone has different schedules in their life. We're going to get one set up on a Wednesday morning for people that don't have regular work schedules. We'll try a weekend. And we're going to try to change it up every month so people with different schedules will have the opportunity, and we, the board members, will also rotate which ones of us are there, but you can always expect at least 3 or 4 of us. So we'll be announcing the next date very shortly, and the next one will probably be a Wednesday morning.
All right, Lauren.
Hi. Last month I invited Bob King, and this month I didn't invite anybody. But next month, we're going to have the district attorney candidates come and speak to you. We do have a primary coming up in May and an election in November, but at the moment there's only 2 people running for district attorney. And so the 2 of them run against each other in May, and one of them's going to win. And so I think it might be very interesting to come and hear about their different views on what they want to do with the district attorney's office.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, cool.
So we'll also put something out on our website if you have questions you can't be here that we can post, that we can give to the candidates. Very excited about that. Thank you. Mike, land use update.
Okay, I'm going to skip the microphone.
Did you turn it off?
No.
Actually, before we get to land use real quick, this isn't really a land use issue, but it's something that I kind of committed to looking into when I was elected to the board. And so I'd like to know if there's anybody who knows anybody that would be willing to volunteer any time to do Spanish translation services. We're going to do a bit of an outreach effort there, probably put out a questionnaire of some sort to our Spanish-speaking community and get some feedback on what might be most helpful for them in terms of engaging with the neighborhood association, whether that's translation services at meetings, receiving written information in Spanish, or just offering the neighborhood association board their thoughts on what the neighborhood association could do to more effectively serve their community. So you don't have to all volunteer now, but if you know anybody, come find me after the meeting. We'd love your help there, and I'll probably put something on Facebook. So land use issues, everything that I'm going to talk about here is on the St. John's Land Use Facebook page. So if you missed something here, if you can't write down a website address, go to the St. John's Land Use Facebook page. It's all there. First, a development at 7410 and 7420 North Oswego. It's going to be an apartment complex, 18 units, a mix of 2 bedrooms and 1 bedrooms. No on-site parking, unfortunately. I spoke with the developer. It happens to be right across the street from my house. Anybody that knows the old Chevy dealership, it's now the mini storage. It's their old overflow lot behind there on Oswego. So apparently he submitted a plan for fewer units with on-site parking that was rejected. The city insisted on him putting as many units on the site as possible. So that's what he's done. And it probably can't be helped as far as that goes. He's having an informational meeting at the Bachelor's Club on February 26th at 6 p.m. I made contact with him today. Apparently there's been some neighbors that have expressed concerns about not being able to attend that meeting for different reasons. He will attend a neighborhood association meeting probably in March or April and give a brief presentation at that time as well. So if you can't make it to the Bachelor's Club, there will be an opportunity to hear about that development at that time. So any questions on that one?
Are they requesting any variances, or is it just straightforward?
I don't believe they're requesting any variances. Anybody else? Okay, next issue, fair rules. So this is the city's new guidelines or new rules on landlord-tenant issues. So a set of guidelines or rules that go above and beyond the Oregon Landlord-Tenant Act and impose certain restrictions and requirements on landlords in terms of what they can request during the application process, how security deposits have to be handled, etc. They are available online. The rules are set in stone. They go into force on March 1st. If you want to read those rules, especially if you're about to rent an apartment or if you're a landlord who's looking to rent to someone else, you can find the rules online on the Housing Bureau's website, which is portland.gov/PPH. The Lombard Multimodal Safety Project. This is also on the Facebook page. It's the project that ODOT is currently looking at doing in 2021 on Lombard. They're going to take out some traffic lanes and expand. Right, definitely. They're going to take out some traffic lanes, expand bike lanes, expand crosswalks, create better center turning lane opportunities. The idea is to improve traffic flow through and safety. And they have a comment section there. You can go in and offer your thoughts. You can see their plans. And you can find that at openhouse.odot.org/lombard-multimodal-safety-2. Or you could just Google Lombard Multimodal Safety Project and probably get there a lot easier. Okay? Last issue. I-5 Rose Quarter Community Advisory Committee. So anybody that has picked up a copy of the Oregonian in the last year or two probably knows that ODOT has some plan to do something with I-5 through the Rose Quarter. The original plan was to condemn some property and widen it out. It looks like they are a bit in flux as far as their plans go. They are forming a community advisory committee. The application deadline for that is February 18th. And while this obviously isn't in St. John's, it affects St. John's, it affects traffic all over North Portland. So if you have strong feelings about this or just some particular interest in the freeway widening project and you want to apply to be part of the committee, go to, let's see here, www.i5rosequarter.org. That one's a lot easier. And you can apply to serve on their committee, but make sure you do it before February 18th. Any questions? Okay.
Yeah.
Sir.
You get a shirt like yours, right?
My wife bought this for me. Christine, where do you get it?
I got it at Etc.
Etc. Okay.
That's a great shirt.
Yeah, I thought so too. Pretty cool. Wait, is that the purple building? No.
It's on Burlington and Lombard.
There you go. On Burlington, Lombard, Etc. Get one of these. All right. Okay. And it's the Jamaica House project. Are we doing that now?
No, I have it under new business.
Okay.
I just need to do the cleanup and we'll do bylaws and then we'll do.
Great. Any other questions? Great. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to committee reports, the cleanup. So Lisa is lead, she's absent. I'm going to read her report. I'm on her behalf. So St. John's is partnering with Cathedral Park Neighborhood Association this year to host a cleanup. The cleanup will be on March 30th. I'm sorry, May 30th. May 30th. Details are still being planned. Details are both, okay, the details are both. Let me read. To have both a Dropbox, so we're partnering with the North Cathedral Park neighborhood. We're going to have a Dropbox-based cleanup as well as a neighborhood litter pickup. The details of both are still in the planning stages. This year, there's going to be 2 cleanup events in St. John's. There's going to be the one that St. John's is sponsoring and hosting on the 30th of May. And then there is another cleanup that will be happening on April 25th that is being hosted by another group. I don't have more information on that just yet, but I am in contact with those organizers and they will share out the details once they firm them up. So you're going to have 2 opportunities to get rid of stuff. So 4:25, you like to clean out. You got 4:25 and then also 5:30. There will be another clean out. We are seeking volunteers to help in the back of the room where the agendas are. There is a sign-up sheet. If you are interested in wanting to help be a part of the cleanup committee with Lisa, She is a project manager by profession, so I know this thing is going to go pretty darn well. So if you like to work with someone who's really organized, I highly encourage you to sign up. Again, sign-up sheet is in the back, and more information will be coming. I think I got it up to you. All right, so now we're up to speed on our agenda. Oh, yes.
Is the cleanup going to be a fundraiser?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is the cleanup going to be a fundraiser like it's been in years past?
I believe the answer to that is yes.
Are there going to be any restrictions on what the funds can be used for?
That I don't have the answer to. We'll need to defer to Lisa on that. All right, so now, any other questions before we move on from the committee reports? No? Okay. So let's move on to unfinished business. We've allotted 20 minutes for this. We're talking about bylaws. Woo-hoo! It's only been now month 3 that we're into bylaws, but last month was a really great discussion in terms of us being able to go through all of the proposed amendments. As a result of those conversations, all of the amendments that were presented last month were included into the new edition that if you received a copy, it's in the back. I'm going to now turn it over to Mike, who is going to take us through so we can get a motion to move to vote our new bylaws. Oh yeah, no microphone.
Okay, those of you who have attended the last few meetings probably have a good understanding of what amendments are being proposed. The revised set, where we presented, we had posted the amended bylaws, we did a reading of the amended bylaws, and then we took a handful of edits or changes to the floor at the last meeting. So the latest version with all of those revisions or edits were added to the website. In terms of significant edits from the original version that was posted and the reading that was done, we deleted one of the amendments that I had put in there, at least part of that language. And the original version was that the St. John's Neighborhood Association Board wouldn't take any action or wouldn't take any position with regard to any matters that exclusively affect Cathedral Park without coordinating with the Cathedral Park Board in some way. That was deleted. The only bit of that amendment that remains is the acknowledgement that Cathedral Park Neighborhood Association exists, and that's about it. So that was one of the major changes. The other major change that I think probably helped address the controversy, it was pointed out to me that the Oregon Nonprofit Corporations Act was amended, but the amendment had not yet been posted on the Oregon Legislature's website. And the amendment changed the requirement that the association maintain a list of all of its members' addresses to a list of all of its owners' contact information without specifying what contact information is. So there was some concern or controversy regarding whether somebody needed to have a fixed address in order to be regarded as an active member. So the language was changed to contact information, and the board is interpreting that to mean any contact information by which we could reasonably expect to find it. Could be an email address, could be a physical address, could be a phone number, whatever it is. If you provide contact information, then we will consider you to be an active member for purposes of counting active members. The rest of the edits or modifications were kind of stylistic or wordsmithing from the audience. Those were incorporated as well. Does anybody have any questions about the proposed amended bylaws? Seamus.
I'm sorry, I'm Jason, a neighbor in St. John's. One change, I wasn't at the last meeting, but I was at the December meeting, and then the bylaws, so apparently last month it was changed so that you only have to attend one meeting per year in order to be eligible to vote. I would say that's a significant change. And I missed the discussion last month about that, if there was some. And since I wasn't here, my concern with that is the historical reason for having people attend every, one of the last two was to make sure that people were were committed, they were regularly attending, and they were informed on the issues that the neighborhood association was working on. I think if you change it so that someone just comes to one meeting and then for the rest of the year they can come, you're in danger of having a particular interest group stack a meeting and stack a vote, which is of people who aren't vested in actually attending meetings on a regular basis. So I don't know how deep the conversation went. I didn't see last month's minutes posted. I saw December's, but I didn't begin. So I don't know what, I know, sorry. So I don't know what the discussion was around that, or what the board was thinking when they thought of lowering that bar to just 1 year.
It was based on feedback that we got from the community in terms of people really having a difficult time attending meetings on a regular basis. That a lot of people can make it to a handful of meetings, but due to various commitments, can't show up all that reliably. And I definitely understand where you're coming from in terms of wanting people to have a bit more commitment in order to be able to vote. I personally kind of went back and forth on it. The change was made prior to this last meeting, so the bylaws that were posted and then read at the last meeting included that change. And I looked at as many other neighborhood association bylaws I could find in Portland. It looked like the majority had some requirement that you attend a prior meeting, but the St. John's Neighborhood Association bylaws are the most restrictive I could find in terms of having to attend one of the previous 2 meetings in order to vote. So yeah, it's kind of a judgment call. I think you could argue it either way, but ultimately the group decided that it made more sense to give more people opportunity to vote as long as they were willing to show up to at least 1 meeting a year. And hopefully, that will encourage more people to attend overall if they know that they can show up and vote instead of knowing that, yeah, I can show up to the meeting and I can hear what's going on, but I can't vote because I haven't been to one of the previous 2 meetings. But I certainly understand the sentiment.
Barbara Quinn, friend of actually Speaker Park Neighborhood Association. I'd just like to tack on to that there have been incidents in the past since I've been a 30-year neighbor here where people have stacked the meeting, taken over a neighborhood association in the past. That's happened at Cathedral Park, I think. I don't know if it's happened here. The other problem is we've had people come in and present themselves as a St. John's neighbor to the city when they actually are in a different neighborhood association. And that's happened in the past. So those are just kind of warning things that have cropped up in the past.
Yeah, and as far as determining whether somebody's actually a member of the neighborhood association, it's kind of the honor system, unfortunately. Unless we know for sure that somebody's lying, we're going to take their word for it. But I understand what you're saying. Any other questions on the bylaws, sir?
Yeah. Hi, Paul Rippey. So when I read through them, thank you for the clarification about contact information. And when I read through that, I didn't understand it. Now, so I understand it now, but I don't think this is clear to a reasonably intelligent person who looked to me like it was this sort of a typo. Members who have not provided an address may go, like, of course, you can see to be provided an address and contact information. So I just think that might need some wordsmithing, because if you're not here and people forgot what you just said, that's going to be confusing. And then the other thing, I was just surprised by members needing a two-thirds vote to overrule the board. I mean, this is a situation that comes up very, very rarely. Probably never, but I can certainly imagine where, like, if 60% of the members were against the board decision, would you really want the board to have the predominant voice on that? Anyway, those are two reasons.
So the last section that Paul was referring to was the amendment that allows any board decision to be overridden by a two-thirds majority vote of members at a general or special meeting. There was no provision like that in the previous bylaws, so there was no mechanism for the membership to tell the board, we don't like what you're doing. So I added that just because I thought that it probably should be in there in terms of what the cutoff ought to be. Again, I think it's kind of debatable. You could have a meeting where you might get a quorum, but it's a dozen people, and half of them don't like the board's decision. Does that really, would you want to override on that basis? I'd say probably not. But if you had a big meeting and half of those people didn't want you to do something, then would the board be smart to reconsider their decision? Perhaps. But see, you gotta, yeah. In terms of the other issue here, the language is kind of unnecessary, this last sentence that says...
You can take out the last sentence altogether.
You could take out the last sentence altogether. I left it in just to be extra clear that you didn't have to have a physical address in order to vote or to serve on the board. But, it doesn't need to be there. But I did want to be extra clear on that point because there was a lot of discussion about that. Okay? Any other questions on the bylaws, ma'am?
In regard to the board members, there's an attendance requirement for the board members to attend board meetings. I see no attendance requirement to go to the general meeting. Is there a reason that board members aren't required to attend general meetings?
No particular reason. Obviously, we want board members to attend all meetings. I don't know of a reason why you couldn't require board members to attend general meetings as well.
I'm just curious. In order to serve on the board, you have to be an eligible member. In order to be an eligible member, you have to come once a year. So I could come once a year and be on the board and stay on the board and never come to a meeting.
Never come to a general meeting, but only go to board meetings.
Yeah.
In theory, you could do that. In practice, do you think anybody's actually going to do that?
Well, I don't know, but you have bylaws, so I'm just asking
Yeah.
why there isn't a guideline for that.
I don't think anyone on the board would allow that to happen.
So I'm assuming that the board's going to take care of that, and I don't need to worry about it.
Historically, that actually has happened, and we've used that bylaw to remove inactive members of the board and put active members on the board. Because then that position is just swallowed upon. There's no way to get rid of that person and replace them with somebody who's actually going to be the business of the neighbors. So I share that concern.
I think you have to think beyond your board currently. This past board, I was on the board, and I mean with all bylaws, we have to think what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years, because it is hard to change bylaws. And that's why some folks are a little more protective about some of the issues. But I think that one particularly, next year you guys could get burned out. Why? But,
I can't imagine.
So, but if you guys get burned out or want to take a break, I mean, there tends to be a rotation where some people do board for 2 years and they take a break for a year and they come back for 2 years. And so we make sure the bylaws have some security built into them. But I mean, to the point, if you're going to change the membership or you just come up once a year, it sets a pretty low bar. The board should have a higher bar.
In terms of, so are you saying that there actually were circumstances where board members would show up to board meetings but never go to general meetings?
Some people, well, yes.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Any other questions or comments on the bylaw revisions? Ma'am?
I have one other question, and that was we discussed last time about the grievance process. And there was supposed to be a sentence in here that says that if a member of the grievance committee has an issue affecting them in the item that the grievance is addressing, that person would be asked to step aside from the committee. I don't see that in here. Maybe I'm not reading clear on that.
I thought that made its way in here. Just a moment.
Yeah, section 2, eligibility.
It just comes under the heading of never assume.
All right, well, let's see if we can find it here.
Section 2.
That a conflict of interest or
Article 9, Section 2, eligibility to grieve.
It's under conflict.
Grievance committee members whose conduct is the subject of a grievance shall be disqualified from participating in the hearing and resolution of that grievance. And the
Okay.
appointed temporary replacement.
Yeah.
Section 2, bottom.
Okay. Ma'am? Section.
Yeah, so
Article 7, Section 2.
I'm not sure if it's clear, because the board is going to be overridden by 2/3 majority. it's unclear if that is two-thirds of the members that are present and eligible to vote, or two-thirds of all the members are present.
So the earlier section on voting, I think addresses who's eligible to vote. And so if two-thirds are going to vote on something, that would be two-thirds of the members present eligible to vote. Any other questions?
I have a question. I have two questions. I have lots of questions. The difference is about what the use now on our country membership. All residents, jurisdiction holders, property owners, and one designated representative of nonprofit organizations. Can you help me understand whether it is a number of representatives is one?
So there was a proposed change to that section at the last meeting. The proposal was to permit any person that was affiliated with a nonprofit organization that was doing its work within the boundaries of St. John's to be counted as a member of the neighborhood association, and that change was not accepted by the student.
That change is not accepted by who?
By the membership. So we voted on that one the last time around, and that change is not adopted.
You changed it from the previous.
No. This language, there was a proposal from the floor at the last meeting to change this language to include anybody who's affiliated or anybody who did work on behalf of a nonprofit organization within the boundaries of St. John's. It was voted on, and it was not approved by the membership.
I just want to get context, because the previous bylaws before anything was proposed allowed for nonprofits in the neighborhood to be recognized as members, but I think that we're just changing that to limit it to one member. The current bylaws,
Yes, the current bylaws read, all residents, property owners, governmental agencies, business licensees, and nonprofit organizations located or performing significant part of the services. So we didn't know what nonprofit organizations meant in terms of who was entitled. So is that everybody that works for the nonprofit organization, everybody who has anything to do with the nonprofit organization, or just the organization as an entity gets a vote? So we decided to clarify that.
Well, so follow-up question, because thank you for helping me in here. Again, that seems like all residents, business, there's no limit on other business licensees, property owners. The limiting voting membership only applies to a nonprofit, which is very confusing. No.
So if somebody owns a business, then they get a vote. Or if there's a corporation that owns a business, they would be able to
Like
visit.
3 people own a business is my question. Do all 3 get to vote versus one nonprofit? Yeah.
What's that?
They set up a corporation, so they would all be multiple who could vote.
Yeah.
So they all would get extra votes.
My position on that would be that no, if you had a business with several partners, then the partnership, the business entity, would be entitled to one vote.
But that is not clear in the language here, and I think what we're seeing is that your experience does not necessarily reflect the history or the future, and so what we're asking for is clarity to ensure that whenever this board moves on, there's language that doesn't have to do with your specific understanding.
Sir?
Can we use the St. John's Deli as an example, like the guy that just spoke?
Yeah.
He technically represents business as a person, but since his wife works there, she's an individual in the community. She's included as well.
No.
I thought that anybody who works in the area is represented.
No, so apparently that's been kind of a long-standing misconception. So under the current bylaws, it doesn't say that if you work in St. John's, that you're a member of the St. John's Neighborhood Association, and the revised version doesn't say that either. Now, we did discuss this at the last meeting, and I don't think anybody made a motion to change that, but under both the current bylaws and the proposed amended bylaws, she would not be counted as a member of the Neighborhood Association. The business entity would get one vote. Sir, in the back?
Already well aware. I was curious about how, does the nonprofit thing cover under churches, like religious affiliations? So, let's say any concern, say some religious group wants to have no power.
Right, so yes, the church would be regarded as a nonprofit organization. Obviously, anybody that lives within the boundaries would be a member in their own right. But somebody that lived outside the boundaries and just attended church would not be a member. The church as an entity would get one vote.
Actually, one of the ladies last week who was pushing for having a not-for-profit organization, her example was of a volunteer who volunteered to save the Red Cross. But the Red Cross is in Canton, not in St. John, right? But this lovely Red Cross volunteer comes to her house and blah, 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 so she should be able to vote. And that made no sense. She doesn't live in the neighborhood. Even though Red Cross may have an office here, that lady is not a neighborhood person.
Yeah, so that like I say, the proposed change to the amended bylaws was made, it was discussed, and it was not adopted by membership. Any other questions regarding the amended bylaws? Okay, so I understand that various folks have various things that they probably would have, I'm sorry, one more back.
Can I make a motion? I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the bylaws as changed here.
Okay, second. Is there a second? Second. All right. Those of you who were shown as being eligible to vote by virtue of being a member of the neighborhood association and having attended one of the last two meetings, got one of these yellow slips and you signed in. If you think you should have gotten the yellow slip because you live within the boundaries of the neighborhood association or are otherwise eligible for membership of the current bylaws, and you've been to one of the last two meetings, but you didn't get a slip. What's that? Okay. And you didn't get a slip, then feel free to go get one now.
There's discussion before the vote, right?
Yes. It's been moved and seconded. We'll have additional discussion. But before we get to the voting part, I want to make sure that everybody who's entitled to vote gets a slip.
Can I make a quick?
What's that? Just a second. Okay. Now, discussion. Sir.
I can go back to the questions, but I think you should say what the St. John's website address is, what the URL is, and then if you change the URL, it gets voted on and has to get updated in the report. Instead of just putting SJNA website, because that's not a, I know we have a URL, but it would be more specific if you said, this is the URL.
But then, it's hard to change bylaws, so the website might change, then we got to change the bylaws.
It's easy to change websites.
Yeah,
I mean, you should clarify that this is the official St. John's website page. If we want to change the URL, we can do it in 2 months, and it takes time to make it happen.
Well, I think the concern is that, for example, if an old board didn't turn over the URL to the new board and they all just kind of disappeared, then you'd have to change the bylaws in order to reflect whatever the new URL is.
I know my concern is somebody decides that MySpace thought St. John's Neighborhood Association is a new page and said, hey, we throw notifications for things on there. I mean, this is an absolute, normal legal standard that we work on now. So you're going to put, what your official website is. So I don't see a reason not to add that on there.
Okay. I don't have an objection to making a sort of a Scrivener's edit and putting the official URL.
That's fine. Just specify what the website is.
All right. Any other discussion? Donna?
To address what Shane brought up and what people, would we still be able to vote on the bylaws if we had an amendment that says, okay, instead of the thing about actually what you said about people having to come to the general membership meeting also in order to stay on the board or whatever.
So,
can we include that without delaying the vote?
Yeah, I mean, technically, I suppose we could take another minute from the floor without having to do another full reading of the bylaws. So if there's strong enough feelings on that one, I suppose that we could. So, but we do have a motion and a second here, and so if there's any further discussion, because Donna, I guess my suggestion would be we could either have him withdraw his motion and vote on a motion that sounds like you want to make, which would be fine with me, or we can vote on the bylaws as they have been proposed, and then you can propose a further amendment to the bylaws. Either way is fine with me.
Question.
Okay, let's do it the second way. We'll vote on the amended bylaws, and then after that vote, if the amended bylaws are adopted, you can propose an additional amendment to the amended bylaws that will incorporate in the final version. James.
So since this is the discussion part, this isn't a question, this is just my 2 cents. I feel like a lot of these changes are common sense, like just housekeeping things that there's been vague parts of the bylaws, and because it hasn't been a particularly contentious body for most of its existence, it hasn't really mattered. And so I think it's important to tighten up some of those things. That said, I think there are enough other changes that give me pause, like not requiring board members to attend general meetings, changing the whole membership stuff to allow the board to become a 501c3 rather than just be a part of the neighborhood association system only. I personally am going to vote no on the package. I'd like to discuss some specific changes that make sense, but I'd like people to really think about some of these bigger changes. And I mean, there's no rush. We can take our time with these changes. So I'm going to vote no. I would encourage people who have reservations to do that, and then we can talk about, maybe we do the easy stuff first, get that clear, and then have a real discussion about some of the more contentious.
We're making an amendment on it right now.
Further discussion? Ma'am?
I didn't tell you before, my name is Chris Belleville. I feel that there's a rush, and I don't quite understand what the rush is. Revising bylaws is a big thing, and I think that I would be more comfortable if it just took its time and got it right and kept fixing it. I know that it's tedious, but I would also vote against doing this right now when there's loose ends. Why have loose ends? If you're going to have bylaws, why not have it in the package?
Well, I think my response to that would be that we've been working on this for several months. We've discussed these issues ad nauseum for several months. There are certainly differences of opinion as to whether you should have this provision or that provision or word it this way or that way. I don't think that there are any loose ends. Donna has a motion, it sounds like she wants to make with regard to this general membership issue, or general meeting issue. But you could adopt the package now and amend as we go. I probably won't continue with this effort if we don't adopt the bylaws and amend it this evening, just because, honestly, it feels like there's kind of been an effort to bog the process down for reasons that I'm not really clear on. But I don't know that the board will propose any changes to the bylaws as they were when we inherited them if we don't go forward with the amended package this evening. I don't think we want to spend any more time on this one. Sir?
So the motion was made to vote all the bylaws in the package and not individually?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, I would be no, not voting individually, not because things wouldn't pass. But, there's obviously things that are more progressive than others, and I'll vote some and some not. So I'll make a motion. But I think that what we're getting at is that there are some things in here that maybe some people feel uncomfortable. That's what James was saying. Some things we need clarification on and need to change. Other things people feel more comfortable or less comfortable about. And I think it's only fair, however the vote swings, to vote each one individually.
Okay.
It takes time, but
we did that last week.
And again, If somebody made a motion from the floor to amend the bylaws and you can get 2/3 to vote in favor with regard to any particular change, that'd be fine with me. But I don't want to spend our entire term arguing over changes to the bylaws.
What was the motion, Master?
The motion was to adopt the proposed amended bylaws. Yes, Seamus said.
Just for historical context, I'm not trying to be a obstructionist, and I was on the board a few years ago, I understand on the board, but we just wanted to be able to attend the meeting if you were sick by phone, board meeting, and it went on for 4 months because people thought we were out of time. So it's not, so bylaw changes are big deals and they're contentious and they do take time. So this isn't like, oh, there's a well, I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but I know for myself, I'm just looking at the amount of changes and it's a big deal. I haven't seen, I was part of 2 boards that changed minor things in the bylaw and it took several months to get through. You have to reread every time something gets changed. So just for historical context, it's challenging.
What else? One more comment.
Yeah.
I was going to see if I could change my motion to say.
No.
No.
There's
I think there's an understanding that we're going to want to amend possibly in the future, right? I think that we all want that, right? And I think we're grateful for that. I think we're trying to pass them as written. And I think we're going to the hearing about these amendments.
So, I mean, the bylaws are obviously a living document. This isn't the U.S. Constitution. There's some intention that they get changed over time in order to fit the particular circumstances in the neighborhood association. But, like I say, this isn't a real high priority for this board. We felt like there were a lot of revisions that ought to be made, some things that could be cleaned up, some improvements could be made, so we put some time into doing that. I don't think that we're going to make this a high priority going forward if we can't get what we need to get here. So, is there any further discussion? Okay.
No.
I have discussion to have. You invited my opportunity for comment, and my name is Justine. I'm going to second Seamus. I think there's a lot of changes. I'm a fan of change. These I have questions about, and whether I'm accepting all of them right now, it doesn't feel like the right decision.
So, Justine, not to pick on you, but do you actually live within the boundaries of St. John's?
No. I've been in Portsmouth. I've been St. John's in Portsmouth. I've heard the current bylaws and the meetings that I've attended, although I've been told a liar by the board chair in public meetings before for presenting that as such. I am eligible as a voting member. Thanks for clarifying that.
On what basis?
That I've attended the past 2 meetings. No,
But if you don't live within the neighborhood association boundaries, you're not eligible to be a member. However,
You can come.
if you're voting PPOP's vote as a nonprofit organization, then that might be a different matter. But you're not eligible for membership in the neighborhood association if you don't live within the boundaries.
Wait a minute, you just said you didn't have to have an address.
You don't, but if you don't actually live within the boundaries, and you say, yeah, I don't live within the boundaries, then you're not eligible to vote.
She lives in Portsmouth. She doesn't live there.
Eligible under the current bylaws.
She's not.
Okay.
All right, we're going to call the question. All right, those in favor of adopting the amended bylaws as currently posted on the website?
As written. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31.
Okay, those opposed?
Voting to keep up, thank you.
Then Emily cannot
Not a
vote.
license, not a
One, 2, 3.
Well, it's one or the other of you.
No, under the current bylaws.
No,
You don't
have to say no.
All right, so count one.
We're not limited to one, that's the current bylaws.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I need to do that.
Okay.
Can y'all just state for the meeting minutes if you're counting Emily's and mine votes? I really like to know. 21. 21 votes, those abstaining?
Okay, how many in favor?
31 in favor?
And you have one abstention.
And one abstention. And what was 21? 31 for, 21 against, one abstention. So the bylaws pass as voted.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, did you want to entertain a motion from Donna to make one more amendment? Yeah.
So did Donna make the motion?
No.
Just to clarify, so if somebody makes a motion to change the bylaws, what is the timeline on that? Because it's, unless they come like kind of prepared how it's written up, right? They can come to the next meeting, read it officially, and then come in?
Yeah, so it wouldn't be incorporated in this version, we have to pass it the next one.
I mean, like, officially it would be 2 meetings, right?
Yeah.
Just so everyone understands, you can't just motion bylaw changes and...
All right.
We are way behind on time.
We are behind our time. What time do we have?
We have 22 minutes.
22 minutes.
Okay. So, with that, I actually am going to yield the floor to Mark Whitcomb, who has an announcement regarding Columbia Pool. Mark?
Can you hear me here? As most of you know, we're having trouble with the budget for funding Columbia Pool. I don't have any specifics on me. I was just given this as I ran out the door tonight. But please Google the information on the Columbia Pool. I have only 3 postcards to send to the mayor. We're asking that there's an ongoing budget to fund the pool. And there are other meetings coming up. I apologize that I do not have the specifics, but just please be aware of that. And also, the neighborhood emergency team is going to be having training episodes in the near future. I don't have those specifics either, but people that would be interested should be able to find that information. That's all.
Tell me, the Facebook page, Friends of Columbia Pool.
Yes.
Oh, there's a question for you, Mark.
Save Columbia Pool.
I'm sorry, Mark.
Okay.
Donna, you have an update on President and Roosevelt?
So this newspaper has the Facebook pages of Citizens for Safe and Attractive Veterans in St. Louis and Roosevelt STEM Advocates, Time for Proper STEM Engineering Space. I have 40 of these, so take one if you want it. And let me say that myself, I'm Donna Cohen, Barbara Quinn, right over there, and Shane to the right. So we are 3 of the original 6 neighbors that were on the stakeholder committee that planned the changes for Fessenden, which took like 2 years. So it's been that was from 2011 to 2013. Anyway, you can see that things are starting to happen there. Signals are getting installed. So there's a couple of things I want to mention. One is some of the things that have been done aren't quite up to snuff, we think.
The
So,
pumps,
pardon me?
the pumps, the speed bumps.
Well, they're a little high. We didn't actually, in the original plan, there were not speed bumps all along the whole corridor. We hadn't heard, but so what I'd like you to do is, if you have concerns, to either get on the citizens page on Facebook, or if you're not on Facebook, if you have a friend who's on Facebook, have them personal message me with your email address, and then we can interact about that. Because we want to pull something together and say, okay, here are the things that look okay that were supposed to be done, here are the things that maybe haven't been done properly, and write up a report. Thanks.
And one thing in particular, they're supposed to, once all of the improvements are complete, they're supposed to monitor some of the side streets, especially Smith, and some of the others for cut-through traffic.
Yeah.
And that if they find there are leaks, they're supposed to address that as well. So if you live on one of those streets and you're experiencing higher volumes of customer traffic, what do you think, A23 safe, or should we contact Dan Layton, or?
I don't know the number, but you know, we do want to say that, you know, Feston is the way it used to be. Let's remember, it was practically like a highway. I mean, people going through there 30 miles an hour, it was like nothing, you know. So I think we should expect some evening out of some of the traffic. You can't say that we're going to make the changes and then nobody's going to necessarily take another route when that used to be as easy it was to just zip along there as fast as well. But yes, absolutely, we certainly don't want a lot of traffic.
Well, that's part of their plan, their promise.
Right, right. You want to have a handle on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're concerned about country traffic on your street, you should call 1-800-SAFE. If we want to make a larger presence to it, then we should organize and then send one uniform message to individuals. Peapod has said over and over and over again, they really get tired of dealing with providing managers and receiving thousands of emails from, there's a time and place for it, but not simply requesting account. And that's, Dan said that last week as well.
Which is why I'm saying if there are issues with the actual structural changes, I've noticed a few, then let us know through the citizens group, you know, connecting with me, and then Bob and I and Seamus are going to put something together, summarize it, and send it to people as well.
How about you and Seamus, because after 12 years, I'm kind of like...
Well, we're all time, I started in 2009 with this project, and you before.
Do you think there's going to be safety things happening on Lombard as well, right?
That's a whole separate thing.
So as a citizen...
I'm sorry, but we spent 2 years working on a plan for that. Are you talking about Lombard west of St. Louis? Or
I will table it for a cycle.
Okay. So the plan that we worked on was specifically, based on the transportation plan, was Feston from 6 Points, St. Louis up to Lombard, and then Lombard out west. And that was the plan. So we don't know about it, maybe the other two, but I don't know nothing about any of them.
Does that cover Feston all the way up to the Shell station?
Up to the Shell station, correct. Right. So, okay, so that's Fessenden, so now STEM. So Roosevelt, you know, this is another thing that some of us in the community have been fighting for several years now, which was that when they planned the remodel, they did not plan a proper space, a workspace for STEM, science, technology, engineering, math projects. Okay, so to be able to have all the different kinds of technologies, woods, metals, high-tech, and so forth, that the kids could build really, you know, some sophisticated projects and incorporate all kinds of skills and talents. So, I'm sorry, what does this have to do with?
Yeah, just one quick question on the STEM. So I've been noticing myself that a lot of
Well,
the time...
why don't I finish talking about STEM, and then you'll see where, if I haven't addressed it, where it fits in, okay? So let me finish the update. So, anyways, long story short, we made headway in 2016. They said they were going to build a building, and half of it was going to be STEM. Then this last summer, they said, oh yeah, we're taking the half that's STEM, and it's going to be something else. So they took that away. So then we fought with them again, and we're on a path now for an interim solution and a long-term solution. But we need the community to be involved. So the long-term major solution is that the school actually needs not only the building that's going to be built next year, but an additional building for classrooms. They underbuilt the whole school, whole story in and of itself. And the next bond measure is supposed to have an additional building to that bond measure for Roosevelt. Okay? And they're working on that bond measure now. What we're saying to them is when they build that building, there's a space in the main building that we want for STEM. And we want them to put into that bond measure some money, it doesn't have to be a lot, some money to reconfigure and outfit this space for the workspace that they've promised us for so long. in order to get that to happen and make sure they don't forget us, you have to go to the bond committee meetings. They're held about once a month, and occasionally a board meeting, a school board meeting. I'm going to the bond committee meeting Thursday, but in short, we need some people who are interested, who want to see this happen, and are willing to just occasionally, step up. That's the long-range major thing. The shorter-range thing is this, that when the building that's coming next year comes, the current wood shop, they will be moving into that new building. That'll be the CTE construction program. So the shop they use right now will become our STEM space. But that will need some reconfiguration and some additional equipment and so forth. And we need the school, I don't get the sense that the school is like really putting a lot of energy into that. What we need is some people in the community and some business people who have a feeling for technologies of different types, everything from computer to, to woodworking, people that are in the trades, people that have technical backgrounds, people that are engineers, people that are just interested in education, hands-on education, to just start to work together, to meet together, and in so doing, to begin to then, be able to talk to the school and say, hey, we would like to kind of talk to you about what's happening with that space and make sure it's going to be converted in a way that's going to be, the kids are going to be able to use it properly. So if you have interest in any of this, join the Facebook group and/or connect with me. I also have email lists for both of these endeavors for people who are on Facebook. So
What's the name of the group?
Roosevelt. So there's Roosevelt STEM Advocates, time for a proper STEM engineering space, and that's Facebook.com/group/Roosevelt.
Real quick, I don't mean to take any wind out of your sails here. What you're trying to do is beautiful. There's actually a movement to try and incorporate the arts along with the STEM programs.
So the thing to know is that Roosevelt High School has a full arts program. They don't have a full STEM program. That's why we have to focus on it. They had arts before, they had arts advocates. When they did the remodel, it was all figured in there, no problem. They had nobody who had any background in a STEM workspace, so it got neglected. So that's basically what happened.
Arts would be famous on that.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Okay, we actually have to, just one moment please, we actually need to do a recap on the... Took me a moment to get that. We need to do a recap on the bylaws. We've counted 64 eligible members to the vote. We only received 53. So, Mike? Will you?
Yeah, so... Yeah, some people left. Some people left. I'm just saying you're not going to get an accurate higher number.
No. We have 64 eligible, only 53 voted.
So,
we have one abstention.
We have the math wrong. So if there were 53 eligible voters, and 31 voted in favor, but that would be 2/3 if you had 52 eligible voters, but one person abstained. So we'd like to resolve this one way or the other this evening. We can be done with this bylaws project and keep our current bylaws. We can adopt the amended bylaws. I'd hate to leave it hanging like that, so I would move that we vote again, and anybody who is eligible to vote and you don't have a slip, please go get one.
Point of order, you can't make the motion as it was.
I'm not the chair, so I can't. So I move that we vote again on that one. Is there a second? Okay? All right, Seamus?
Yes.
Well, you made the motion, it's been seconded, so we're going to vote on it, but as part of the discussion, I'd like to say, just because you're eligible to vote doesn't mean every single person has to vote and you don't have to abstain. You have to vote. You need a 2/3 majority to pass bylaw changes, and you got 58%, so we're short of passing. So this is like a redo, I don't know. So I mean, it's already not passed, so it seems a little irregular to force people to vote again on something.
Christine?
I know, we're going to do it.
So two-thirds was the standard in the bylaws that we inherited. It would also be the standard in the amended bylaws. Okay? So there's a motion on the floor to vote again on the bylaws. That would require a majority of people voting in favor of voting again. So, further discussion.
I mean, since the bylaws barely didn't pass, and most people have said there are some bylaws that were passing, and there's concerns about others. All intents and purpose here, clearly, some you're saying up there saying, if it doesn't pass this time in full, you won't deal with it. And to me, as a board member, not only make some of these important clerical changes, you really should have done your part.
So, all in favor of voting again, slips.
No.
Okay, all.
We're short by abstaining Yes. 35 votes in favor. That's clearly a majority. So, now.
Those opposed, you got to finish.
Okay, sure. Those opposed voting again.
My request is the same. I'd like the meeting minutes to show up your time again with my phone. 19 which has not been acknowledged.
19 have voted no, and abstentions? 1 abstention.
Okay. Now, entertain a motion to pass the amended bylaws as currently written.
I move that we table it and focus on the parts of the bylaws that we agree on, and then address the other ones at another time.
Second. Who seconded? Oh, we only need one. What's your name?
Zerafini, live in St. John.
Okay. Any discussion on Seamus's motion? Okay, all in favor? Okay. All opposed to Seamus's motion to table the second vote?
All opposed? 1. All opposed? Yep. Are you voting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. 29. Abstentions? 1. 2. 2 abstentions.
Okay. Now, would somebody like to make a motion to vote on the amended bylaws again?
I make a motion to vote on the amended bylaws for the third month.
You just may actually make a motion. You could have called it anybody, could have made a motion to table this.
Do you want to be on the board?
Okay. All right, so you got a motion
on the board.
Is
How
this
about you come over here and sit down, and you take my job, and I'll go over there and do what you're doing.
Is there-
Which is a pain in the butt.
Is there a second? What's your name?
Casey Redmond.
Casey Redmond, second.
All right.
My neighbor.
I'm serious, Mr. Smiley. okay?
That's okay. All right.
No, he wants to be prepared. Get over here and sit down. Are you gonna come to all of our meetings? Are you
Gloria.
Board, please take control of the board.
Okay, all in favor of adopting the amended bylaws as currently on the website? Again,
Voting for the bylaws amended as published on the website. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
okay, opposed?
Opposed? 1.
Only counting that one.
20. Opposed? Abstention? 0
Okay.
abstentions.
All right.
So, what's our numbers? So, the bylaws are passed as amended, 36 for, 20 against, 0 abstentions.
Why don't you have a vote again, keep this included?
I know, I don't understand.
Yeah, so we vote again because I didn't like that one.
The process that was put forward. So we used it, we exercised it, and that's fine.
Motions that weren't even acknowledged. We didn't even get to vote on the motion to vote on them individually. You did which has been a consistent theme of every single meeting people feel like this.
We want to move on to important topics, okay?
Yeah, so we're going to actually, we're at 8:30, we didn't finish the agenda, but that's okay, because we're going to hold those items until next, except for Loretta, more holding in the 36.
We need those numbers, what are the numbers?
36, 20, 0.
That's not
36, 20, 0.
40 and 20 would be 2/3.
20 and...
I can't write it out. I can't hear you. Loretta, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. So you're saying you're the 56 and 37.
Yeah.
You're 56 people
So the bylaws is passed. Yay! Okay.
Already wanted some of the bylaws to pass. So is the board going to get the ones you want?
Okay, so 50, that is correct.
That's 36 for yes?
Yes.
That is 64%.
Yeah.
Did it not pass? Did it not pass?
Not that. It failed to pass. It failed to pass.
56 voted, 36 for.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not 2/3.
It's not 2/3.
No, not.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so bylaws did not pass as packaged on the agenda as on the website, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.